We are not silent. We are here to make noise. We are here to be committed to change. No one understands silence. They don't know what you're thinking. So you have to say out loud, we're not going to be silent anymore. No more.
James for live from Pasadena Media Studios. Get ready for more piercing and provocative. The Conversation Live starts now. And welcome to another episode of The Conversation Live. The Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. Coming up today, Jasmine Abdullah, the co-founder of Black Lives Pasadena, is in the seat. We're going to have a critical and possibly uncomfortable conversation. I want to talk with Jasmine about the recent officer-involved fatal shooting of Mr. Anthony McClain. We'll also talk about what happened with Jasmine when she actually spoke with Chief Perez and City Manager Steve Mermel, as well as the police department's decision to use riot police to disperse protesters on the steps of City Hall. Let's welcome Jasmine in the seat. But first, I want to take a look at, and I warn you, this video is a little bit graphic. It may be uncomfortable, but let's get the video in that the police department released on last Thursday for context, and we'll talk to Jasmine on the other side.
I believe in. Can you turn off the car for me, though, please?
Turn it off?
Yeah, please. Thank you. All right, you step out there. We're going to talk on the sidewalk, all right?
Should I step out?
Yeah, please.
Am I stepping out?
Well, you don't have a license, right? You have a suspended license? So we're going to step out the car.
Okay.
We're talking on the sidewalk, all right?
All right.
Let's walk with my partner.
I'll get my mask.
I'll come back and grab for you, all right? Appreciate the concern, though.
The adult male passenger was also asked to exit the vehicle, and moments after emerging from the vehicle, he began to run from the officers while making a furtive movement with his left hand to the area of his waistband. He ran between the Infiniti and the police vehicle as he reached for the item in his waistband, while continuing to run in a southeasterly direction. The natural swinging movement of the individual's arms while running revealed what both officers immediately recognized as a firearm in his left hand. The officers gave chase and, after running only a few yards with the firearm in his hand in a raised position, the individual turned to his right and looked in the direction of the officers over his right shoulder. Fearing that the individual was turning to shoot at the officer closest to the individual discharged 2 rounds from his firearm. It was not immediately apparent if the fleeing individual had been struck by the gunfire, as he continued to run for a considerable distance. He eventually stopped running and fell onto the east side parkway of Raymond Avenue. While fleeing the officers, video evidence captured by a local surveillance system indicated that the individual had thrown his firearm across Raymond Avenue to the west side of the street. Furthermore, a witness provided a voluntary and recorded statement, confirming they were within close proximity at the time of this incident, and they saw the individual who was running from the police throw the firearm. The loaded firearm was recovered near the west curb of Raymond Avenue, adjacent to La Pintoresca Park. No other officers discharged their weapons during the incident, nor does it appear that the individual discharged any rounds from his firearm. The recovered weapon was not registered and had been assembled from different manufacturer parts with different serial numbers. The weapon was not legally assembled nor legally possessed under California's gun laws. As assisting officers responded, it became apparent that the individual had sustained at least 1 gunshot wound. Officers provided immediate medical attention and paramedics were immediately summoned. Paramedics arrived within 5 minutes of the shooting and more advanced medical treatment was provided. The paramedics began their transport of the individual to a local hospital just a few minutes later, where he died of his sustained injuries. The individual has been identified as 32-year-old Anthony McClain, a Pasadena resident. Mr. McClain had previously been convicted.
Welcome back, Jasmine. How you doing today?
I'm all right, brother Favre. It's a beautiful struggle. How you doing today?
Yeah, struggle it is, and I'm, every time I get your energy, it gets beautiful, and so you pick me and the community up, certainly with the work that you're doing. Real quick before we kind of jump into the video and what we saw, you knew Anthony personally, correct?
Yeah, I've known Anthony since we were about 8 years old. Our mothers got clean together. I mean, his mom was actually clean before my mom, and she actually took my mom to dances and stuff. So I've been knowing him for lots of years. I'm 33 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
So
and what kind of friend and father was he?
Anthony McClain, he was funny. He's a funny guy. You know what I mean? He always had you laughing. We call him Feats because he was really fast, but he had this little weird run. He run like this, but he always was faster than everybody else. So we call him Feats. But I've known Anthony basically all my life, and all my life he's never been confrontational. He's never been the one to fight people. He's always been the one to mediate fights. You know what I mean? So all these things that they're saying about him, I'm just like trying to figure it out. I'm like, damn, Anthony was complete opposite. He was a great father. He loved his daughter and his son. He spent as much time with them as he could. And it's a sad, tragic loss.
Okay. When you saw the video, when it was released last Thursday, did it match up with what we all were told we would see on video, and what was your reaction to it?
Well, last Thursday, the videos didn't add up. It was an edited video that he put out, and he stated that it would be unedited. What I could see from the video that they put out was a Michael Kors belt. The shiny thing was gold, and the gun was black. I don't know how the gun automatically switched to black that quick, and he was on the southeast. He was running southeast. That gun was found a little bit northwest of the crime scene. Of where he was murdered. I never seen Anthony fling his hand, not once. So it didn't add up to me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's difficult to see at best. I don't see it, and I don't know. I've heard other people say they've watched it and they've seen it and they can see it. I just don't see it. Was Anthony? I mean, was he a violent person? I know you said he mediated. I mean, do you think he would actually have carried a gun?
No, not to my knowledge. I've never seen Feats ever have a gun. Mm-hmm. I know why he was running. My friend was running because he didn't want to go to jail. Lamont, which is the driver, he was on parole, and Anthony's on parole, and so two parolees together is automatically going to send them to jail. So I know why Anthony was running. It wasn't running because he had a gun. He was running because he was automatically going to go to jail for being with another parolee.
Mm-hmm. I mean, no, I understand that. I mean, some of the audience may not understand that dynamic and what that could mean for him, just them two being together. But when you look at the conduct of the officer, I mean, what's your thought? Did they shoot him in the side? Did they, what did you see on film?
From what I seen on that film, I seen my friend, because we sag in our community. I don't know if y'all know what sag is. Sag is when you wear your pants down a little bit. He was sagging. So what he was doing was pulling up his pants by his belt, which is that Michael Kors long, big gold belt buckle. He was pulling his pants up, and he started to run. And as he started to run, he kicked off his shoes because his shoes are slightly big. And when you kick off your shoes, you're trying to gain momentum. And he got out of there on the officer. And the officer, I could tell that officer was a little big, and the officer got frustrated and he shot him. And Anthony, not one time did Anthony turn around and a gesture that was threatening to those officers. He was kicking off his shoes. I've never known somebody not in any movie I've seen, somebody to kick off their shoes if they're going to shoot you.
Mm-hmm. How is the community doing right now? I mean, how are folks in the neighborhood, folks around the park, processing all of this right now?
I mean, really, they're not processing. In our community, we never get to process our grief because folks are always constantly being killed and folks are always dying. So once we get one person almost in the ground, then somebody else we have to bury. So our kids, we're creating chalk therapy, as well as we're having them draw it out on pieces of paper, and that's the only therapy they're getting. Um, the city of Pasadena, they have not yet deployed um, any counselors or any therapists. All we've seen was more police on with boots on the ground, police driving up and down Raymond, the same place that Anthony was murdered. So it's creating a lot of trauma. It's creating a lot of PTSD. Now, when our children see the police, they be like, Jasmine, they go to police. Or one time. So what they're doing is fear mongering, and it's creating a sense of fear. Like they're doing exactly what they want. They're creating fear with our children, and it's not fair. It's not fair.
This happened at 7:53 in the evening, 7:52. Sun is still out, nice hot Saturday evening, and families were in the park, if I'm not mistaken, when this happened. I mean, it was in front of community.
Yeah. There's children. There's the same people that was at the park every day. My family. There was children at the park. You got some people saying bullets whiz by their head. You got folks saying every time they close their eyes, all they can do is see Anthony die. So there's a lot of trauma going on, but there's a lot of healing going on too, because we've been having folks from all over come out to Pasadena to show their love. The park was filled with people, and the police did not care about that. They didn't care about the trauma that they were impacting to the community, and so that needs to that's its own discussion in itself. Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll transition just a little bit, but this impacts many of us in many different ways. My 5-year-old son asked me, "Why do police kill black people?" And I'm like, the talk has to start earlier. And it's a cycle. But let me check in. You're watching the Conversation Live. Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. My guest today is Jasmine Abdullah Richards, and she is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Pasadena. And Jasmine has been a regular irritant down at City Hall and doing what I believe is her attempt to hold our leadership in the city accountable. Jasmine is no secret to any of our city leaders. And just last week, hours before the video was scheduled to be released, Jasmine was down at City Hall and had an encounter with our police chief, John Perez, as well as the city manager, Steve Ramel. Let's take a look at some of that exchange. And Jasmine, I want to talk to you about our government leaders.
Okay.
I need you at the table to talk about these
I
issues.
want to be at the table.
No, but that's
I don't believe tables. I believe you want to talk about these issues, come down and have a community town hall, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to decolonize this space. So what that means, we're going to encamp. We're going to camp out right here. Okay? And we're going to do this civilly, because we believe in civil disobedience. But there must be accountability. There must be accountability and transparency.
There is accountability and there is transparency.
If that officer's body camera was off,
and we're working
then there was
to
no
share the video, but everyone has to agree on what the facts are.
And the facts are, if he has a gun, and he has a gun and he's running away, it doesn't matter. Why did you shoot him down? And then why did y'all hog tie him? Why did y'all do this to him? He bled out. He didn't have to bleed out. No, they said he bled out. And then y'all
see the video.
Y'all maced children. Hey, actually, y'all seen the video, and we got videos too. Just know that. That we just got on the body cam video footage, but we got videos. Right. We got videos, and I've seen the videos.
You have to establish a set of facts first, and we can then all talk about what those facts mean.
I've seen the videos that I need to see in the community. Right. I've seen community videos. I seen an 11-year-old boy maced, and my friend Nafisa, she ain't even scared. She ain't scared to go to jail or nothing.
No, she spoke yesterday.
But you guys are trying to now prosecute it?
No, we write a report on the incident, and they review that report. Now we can't let.
And what about Reggie? Reggie, why Why y'all got warrants out for their arrest?
For the out on Sunday night you're talking about. No arrest for that. The report again gets written, and they review the report to see what's going to happen.
So there's no warrants for anybody there?
No. Right now, no warrants for anybody right now. None.
Right now.
The chief prosecutor will review it and see what happens. So let's wait and see. Let's talk about it when it happens. Then look. Okay, I'm open to that.
Can we talk about the park for a minute? Because the people that live by the park, it's very hard on them right now when there's a lot of stuff going on in the park. A lot of complaints. The people can't get sleep. They got to go to work in the morning. Can we give the neighbors a break?
The neighbors were all outside, actually.
Not all of them.
And the ones that weren't, then there are the gentrifiers who do not care about our community, and they need to go.
We can't give the neighborhood a break.
What do you mean? Can y'all give the neighborhood a break? Can y'all stop coming up there with y'all helicopters? Can y'all give us a break?
Yeah, we need to.
Can y'all give us a break?
You know what, Jasmine, great point.
Give you a fucking
He doesn't want to.
Give me a fucking break.
He doesn't want to respond. I'm asking you to give the neighbors.
Because of your fucking officers.
I'm asking you to give the neighbors.
Fuck the neighborhood. I'm that neighborhood. We are that neighborhood.
So Jasmine.
In the neighborhood.
And welcome back, Jasmine.
Yeah, brother.
Give the neighborhood a break. Give the neighborhood a break. That's what our city manager said. I find it interesting that, unfortunately where Mr. McLean lost his life was just mere feet away from where we all as a community some time ago sat down in these community policing conversations, trying to prevent things like this, right?
Right.
And then, for the city manager to tell you, give the neighborhood the break, and the people who are in the neighborhood are the ones that were in the park, in the community, and traumatized and affected. I mean, he's having another white moment. It's just, I don't know what else to say about it. But your relationship with the police chief, your relationship with the city manager, what can you tell? What can you share with the audience?
Well, I would say this. I was actually doing a live feed on my Instagram just to show people like City Hall and all of the I was just talking to my live feed, right? And then all of a sudden, as I'm talking to my live feed, here comes John Perez on a run through the neighborhood, a jog through the neighborhood. And then 5 minutes later, here comes Steve Mermel. So what that showed me is that they're watching my live feed, which my lawyer had told me to stay off live feed because they're watching me. And so 2 minutes later, they come down and they try to direct this conversation of protecting the neighborhood. And I'm like, dude, protect the neighborhood. I'm protecting my neighborhood by getting out, talking to folks, by educating folks. It was funny to me how Steve Mermel said, give the neighborhood a break. He was actually just talking about white Pasadena that moved up there. He wasn't talking about the neighbors because all of the neighbors have Anthony McLean signs on their houses. All of the neighbors are actually keep on saying, keep staying out there. So that becomes another conversation of why do they believe in protecting businesses and property instead of Black lives? Stephen Mermel, along with Michelle Bagneris, they keep on prosecuting me, right? They keep on, even John Perez, a week before that, they gave me 3 charges for vandalism and trespassing for doing a petition and civil disobedience in front of the laundromat, Fair Oaks Laundromat. So I don't have a real good rapport with them. They seem to keep targeting me and trying profiling me. And they want me to be a part of their table. If you heard him say, we want you to be a part of these conversations. I don't believe in going to the upper room. I believe the upper room should come down to the people, and there should be accountability where everybody can see and talk about it, not just me and a few other folks. And that becomes that's how white people do though. They try to pick their leaders, and I'm not a leader that they can pick. This is a leader foe movement. So if you want to talk to me, you got to come talk to the people. And so
you were asking for some specific things when you talked to them, in terms of therapy services, crisis managers, someone to come and deal with, you alluded to in our previous segment, for the kids. What was the city manager's response to that?
Oh, Steve Ramel, aka Smithers, he said, he stated that there was not enough money in the budget but he receives $477,000 a year. So I propose that we take some of his money and give to the community. I'm not sure how there's no money in the Pasadena budget for therapists. Even in LA, they have a response team now that comes out every time there's an officer involved shooting. I'm not sure why we don't have that same thing.
So part of what you're saying is part of the city's $81 million budget for the police department. There's not any money for crisis or therapists or something to help people kind of grieve and process.
No, not at all.
I made that same request when J.R. Thomas was killed. Nothing. So it just seems that isn't a priority at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me check in because we're going to be running out of time in just a few minutes because I know you got some things you want to make sure that we cover. You're watching the Conversation Live. Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. My guest today is Jasmine Abdullah, and she's the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Pasadena, and we're having a critical and uncomfortable conversation. We're talking about the officer-involved shooting of Mr. Anthony McClain. Mr. McClain subsequently succumbed to his wounds and died on Saturday night at Huntington Memorial Hospital. I want to talk with Jasmine about the police's response when, as you were in a grieving process, as many others were kind of holding space for Anthony at City Hall. I was told that you guys were going to be able to stay, and I know you were told you're going to be able to stay, but let's look at the police's response, and then we'll talk with Jasmine on the other side.
May I ask where the First Amendment zone is? I know, it's really frustrating. Do we know who this lady is? It seems like she works with the PD.
This lady here? That's the area. This is the area. Centennial Square.
Y'all gotta specify that.
Okay, let's specify that.
Y'all gotta specify.
Centennial Square. We're gonna specify Centennial Square because everyone has to move out, okay? You're welcome to come back tomorrow.
But they were told that if they moved their stuff to the other side of the street that they were okay, right, where they are. So they're all on the other side of the street, no one's in the street.
So we just got legal advice.
Okay.
And the legal advice says
That's for this.
Centennial Square, the whole area.
So you're going back on what you told them, so now they have to...
No, we're clarifying. We're clarifying what we told them.
All right.
So clarity is they have to clean out the entire area. It's all of Centennial Square.
Okay.
You're welcome to come back and peacefully protest.
Now we're gonna go across the street to All Saints.
Okay.
We're gonna go across the street to All Saints Church because that's a sanctuary.
Okay.
And Mike Kidman said we could be there. Okay. And then we're gonna be back here with a whole lot of old white ladies that's ready to go to jail. They're going to jail. Tomorrow they're gonna do the same thing we did.
Don't do this tonight.
They're gonna do you because
I hear you.
You know that they crazy.
I hear you.
That's why I said don't do this tonight.
Let me go tell them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, they're mobilizing.
All right, we need to get them out of here.
They're
We need
mobilizing.
more time, right? We need more time. Huh? We need it now.
Understood.
All right. I say get ready. Hey, get that shit out of here. Go to All Saints. Pack up now. Pack up now. They're coming. Pack up now. They're coming. Pack up now. They're coming.
And welcome back. Jasmine, was that the police chanting?
Yeah, that was the police chanting like orcs on the Lord of the Rings. That was them chanting.
Wow. Was that an overreaction in your opinion?
Heck yeah, that was an overreaction. I've been a part of a lot of encampments. I actually spent the night in front of LA City Hall for 60 days with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. And we were not met with any of that. And that's the most murderous police department in the nation. What we were met with that night was Monterey Park Police, Burbank Police, Glendale Police Precinct, as well as all of Pasadena. They had their sticks in their hand, and they had a big old tank. I didn't even know we had a tank in Pasadena, and they just started proceeding closer to us. So when you see me running, I was telling my people, run, get out of here, because I'd rather me get hurt, but not my people. And so what we had to do was pack up all of our stuff and like gone in 60 seconds. And it was not only scary, it was crazy to see that they would hurt peaceful protesters. And so this whole thing of everybody saying, oh, you have to be peaceful. Oh, man, look what happens when you're peaceful. They still meet you with violence. And so
I was there till about 9:30. And
they waited till 12:30.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was people, like I said, holding space for Mr. McClain. And that's it. That's all I saw. Saw a lot of young people.
We were going to have political education classes the next day. We were going to have a kids square where the kids got to, because we know that this is a family movement, right? So we had a kids space. We had political education classes by Jackie Robinson's head. We had yoga the next morning. We still had our yoga class. But we had a whole list of things to be able to like uplift folks, but keep people empowered and moving in social justice work. And so
let me ask you this, because we're going to get on time. Do you think the priority was to preserve property versus people's right to protest?
Of course it was to preserve property. They wanted people to be able to come out there and keep on taking their pretty white pictures in front of Pasadena City Hall. You know, that's what they wanted. They didn't want Anthony McClain's pictures all in the front of City Hall. They didn't want that stain. Because when you think of Pasadena, all you think of is the rose parade, right? That's what a lot of people think about. But you never think about how in Northwest Pasadena, people are being murdered. People are being brutalized, antagonized, and killed, and scared. They're scared up there, and folks didn't want that secret out.
Okay. We got just about a minute and some change before we got to get out of here. I know there's some things that you wanted to, kind of set the record straight and kind of, get off your chest, if you will. So, I want to give you the floor, if you will, to kind of get that off.
Okay, well, we just have a list of demands. We want the officers' names released. Well, now I received one of the officers. His name is Officer. We would like all of the body cam.
Let me pause you there. I have not been able to confirm that is or is not the officer. So just for safety, I don't know, and we will look into that. I have seen a claim that's been filed by the city, but we have not been able to confirm that. But go ahead.
Okay. We want all body cam footage released, unedited. We also want them to fire Chief Perez, because not only is he incompetent of running a police department, but he's harboring a fugitive and he's hiding evidence. And now we would like to, since the city council actually voted on an oversight board, we would like that oversight board to have subpoena power, but also to be for the community to pick those people on that oversight board, not elected officials.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have to park it right there. And I know you've said you've received some death threats, and I know you're gonna you're not scared. You're a warrior, but you're gonna tuck away for a little bit. Do some self-care for a little bit, and just know that the entire community is with you, praying for you, and we'll be here for you. When you get back. Just want to again, love you, Jazz. Take care of yourself. We gotta get out of here. All right.
Love you too. All power to the people.
All power to the people. You're watching the Conversation Live. Conversation Live focuses on social justice, restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. Until we have another opportunity to speak with you, as always, agape.